Universal Studios Florida, a place where guests could ride the movies and watch movie history take place. Tucked away in Universal's Hollywood East were standing sets from movie and TV history. The most chilling and notorious was the familiar yet foreboding house and motel that used to stand in Universal Studios Florida. Its chilling presence overlooked the park, and with the help of the house's residents, Norman Bates and Mother, served as the perfect venue for short-lived haunt attractions. With the help of Losh TV, this is a two-part video exploring the history of the defunct Psycho House and Bates Motel, as well as the former Bates-themed Halloween Horror Nights mazes. In 1960, Alfred Hitchcock shocked the world with his low-budget masterpiece, Psycho. The legendary horror movie, which was filmed on the backlot of Universal Studios Hollywood, inspired 3 sequels. The post-Hitchcock follow-up movies didn't reach the box office and critical success the original earned, but they did share a commonality with the black-and-white slasher setting. The Bates Motel and the Psycho House have legacies as renowned as any other horror location, right up there with the Overlook Hotel and Camp Crystal Lake. For the Psycho franchise's 4th movie, production moved east to the soon-to-open Universal Studios Florida. The theme park, with heavy ties to Hollywood, was designed to double as a working film studio. Universal Studios Florida was slated to open to guests in summer 1990, and the park's studio portion was available as soon as mid-1988 for filming. Psycho 4: The Beginning would be Universal Studios Florida's first full-length production, and its filming was scheduled to start in late November or early December of 1988. Universal, wanting to capitalize on the movie-making aspect of its new Florida park, pushed back the Psycho prequel's production by about 2 years to align with Universal Studios Florida's grand opening in summer 1990. Filming for Psycho 4 began in May 1990, which was just a few weeks before the park opened. The tight production schedule was 4 6-day weeks, kicked off by shooting the movie's indoor scenes in Soundstage 21, which was one of the park's many on-site production locations. This soundstage featured original set dressings from the 1960 Hitchcock movie, including Mother's screen-used bed. Other on-site filming locations included Universal Studios Broadcast Center and the Swamp Thing set in the back of the park. The film's major outdoor scenes, which were shot toward the end of production purposefully after the theme park had opened in early June 1990, took place at the recreated Bates Motel and Psycho House. This set was constructed using the original blueprints from the 1960 version. With the Bates Motel underneath, the mansion loomed atop a hill at the park's Expo Center area. At the time of the park's opening, this section was home to E.T. Adventure, Animal Actors Stage, and Back to the Future: The Ride, which would open a year later. With the movie's adjusted production schedule, the new theme park opened with a hot set for guests to enjoy. During Psycho 4's outdoor filming times, park visitors gathered around the set. About this, director Mick Garris said,
"We were as much a theme park attraction as we were a movie production."
Much of the outdoor scenes were filmed at night after the park closed to guests, so nearby spectators were an issue only during a handful of filming sessions. Guests had the opportunity to watch production take place, and the movie generated a buzz in the park with stars like Anthony Perkins reprising his role as Norman Bates, E.T. lead Henry Thomas as a young Norman Bates, alongside Romeo and Juliet actress Olivia Hussey playing Mother. The newly constructed motel and mansion structures, like many movie sets, were nothing more than facades with bare, unfinished interiors. Essentially, the buildings had nothing inside, only being used for exterior shots. Briefly during filming for the movie's flashback sequences of a teenage Norman and young Norma Bates, the house was given a fresh yellow coat of paint, and the motel was spruced up to be lively and inviting. For the majority of production, the house and motel were heavily distressed, as scenes took place about 30 years after the events of the original Psycho movie. The yellow paint on the back and a portion of the side of the house were not covered up because they weren't visible on camera. This was also the case at the motel, with off-camera portions of the building staying yellow. For the movie's finale, the house was set on fire. This pyrotechnic effect was controlled and left visual marks that remained on the facade. After a 25-day session, Psycho 4: The Beginning wrapped up production on Monday, July 9th, 1990, which was about a month after the park opened. The $4 million made-for-television movie premiered on November 10th of that same year on Showtime. Universal kept the house and motel set intact after production finished. The facades, still with aged and yellow paint, stood as relics of the park's cinematic history. This standing set was essentially a photo op off the beaten path near the former Hard Rock Cafe. Since the structures had no interior, guests could not actually enter these attractions or come close to them. The standing set was on a relatively large plot of land, with no guest pathway leading directly to the structures. The facades, while still exciting for horror fans, didn't offer much to theme park guests. Through the early 90s, the set remained relatively unchanged. During this time, Universal used the set for its annual Halloween Horror Nights event. It first served as the backdrop for a show in the first ever Fright Nights, and then for psycho-themed haunted houses as featured in the third and fourth years of Halloween Horror Nights. Losh TV goes into more detail about these houses that put guests in a black and white chase with Mother through Norman's mind. In the park's early years, a Universal publicist stated that the standing sets would be relocated to another area in the park, but this never happened. In 1992, the Psycho set gained a new neighbor, Fievel's Playland. With the park expanding, the house and motel were now on borrowed time. In 1995, the Bates Motel facade checked out. It got the axe to make room for a new children's attraction, A Day in the Park with Barney. The Psycho house, now unaccompanied by its infamous motel, remained standing. Approaching the late 90s, Universal became increasingly popular and was expanding into a multi-park resort. The set was still used on occasion for various small filming productions such as local commercials. Regardless, the park had limited space, and the Psycho house didn't provide much in return. The Bates Mansion and its large hill took up a large valuable plot of land in the park. Thus, in 1998, the Psycho house, this time the victim, was slain in favor of a new kids' play area, Curious George Goes to Town. One of Universal Studios Florida's opening day attractions, called Alfred Hitchcock: The Art of Making Movies, featured a smaller indoor recreation of the motel and house. The attraction also included a portion with the original movie's famed shower scene. While these weren't screen-used sets, Hitchcock fans would be disappointed when this attraction closed in early 2003 to make way for Shrek 4D. All of the park's Psycho sets and attractions were now defunct. In the park, a production plaque as tribute to Psycho 4: The Beginning used to be located outside the park's sound stages, but has since been removed. With its presence gone, the former Psycho set at Universal Studios Florida is now nothing more than a memory, a ghost. The celebrated franchise has been haunting fans for over 60 years and has been creatively and eerily adapted for Halloween Horror Nights mazes. To catch the full story of the Psycho-themed Halloween Horror Nights attractions at Universal Studios Florida, head over to Losh TV's channel. He and I revisit the Bates HHN houses from years past, sharing the details and scares of these historic walkthrough haunt attractions. While you're there, you may enjoy watching his other content. He posts vlogs, speculation videos, and more about the theme parks and haunt attractions around the Orlando area. Thanks for tuning in to this chapter of Storybook Amusement.